trying to think of.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia. In case you don't know, Pillow Talk is where my wife and I, my professor wife and I, my therapist professor wife and I, lay against our pillows and try to have intelligent conversations about issues happening in the Black community, particularly things that relate to money and love and everything in between. And I hope everybody's doing well. And also, I hope you don't forget this podcast is on Spotify. Just look up my name, Boyce Watkins. You can find it there. Now, today, first I want to ask my wife, how you doing, babe?
I'm doing all right. I'm awake.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I wanted to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
movie we saw tonight. We saw Ava DuVernay's new movie. It was called Caste. And in this movie, Caste, it was I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was. It seemed that the movie did a great job of really laying out the this sort of narrative about race.
Great theory she came up with.
Well, it was based on a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was showing respect to a book called Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And Isabel, it was a Black woman who won a Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah,
One
that's
of
a
those.
big deal.
It is. It is.
Big deal.
It's a very big deal when Black people get white people awards, and
Mm-hmm.
and so she won this.
People can see where we're going already with it.
Well,
Just by this.
I don't want to be a cynic here. I mean, I'm proud of her though. I'm impressed with her achievements. By the way, give me a yes in the chat if you guys can hear us. Let us know if you can hear us. And we are live pretty late, but you can catch the recording later. And you never know when we might do a pillow talk episode. We might just pop up anytime. So Brian Reeder and Alistar, I see you in there. Let me know if you can hear us. Give us a quick yes. Let us know that the audio is coming through okay. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you. All right, so let's just start from the beginning. Okay, so this movie, Caste, that was done by the great Ava DuVernay, who we both respect. I assume you respect her, right?
I do.
I do.
I
So.
tried to watch that. She did a documentary 13th.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit through the whole thing. It was too traumatic for me.
It's painful to watch, but
Yeah.
it's good in terms of awareness and education.
Yeah, it wasn't like I didn't sit through it like it was disgusting and terrible. I can't believe this. No, it was I could see where the documentary was going and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't want to relive this." Like it's her stuff is really good, but for people who are just stepping into these theories and concepts. But like because I teach a lot of this stuff all the time, it's almost like I feel like, okay, this is for people who just aren't kind of drenched in it like I am.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I love that she put something like that out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think as talented as Ava is, unfortunately, sometimes you have Black people that get sort of cast in this position where they become almost like white people whisperers, where where it's their job to like go educate white people on racism, and they think that's the solution. Like
Yeah.
whereas I'm more the cynical bastard who kind of understand, who believes that they already know what they're doing. Not all of them, not every white person is in on the plan, right? But I don't think they're ever really gonna care about us, no matter how many times we try to get them to cry for George Floyd or whatever. I kind of feel like it's like a waste of time. Like I'm not really interested. Like I think they have people that make money as anti-racism educators. They teach white people how to be nice to Black people.
Yeah, people at my university, they have conferences and stuff. They get together and talk. They do, and they go to them, and the university pays for them to go to anti-racism conferences, and it's beautiful. I love when they go to it.
Well, you know what? It's better than like going to a Klan rally or something.
It is. Is there somebody at the door?
It could be our daughter.
I just heard somebody walk in.
Here, you hold the.
No, let me go check. You talk.
Okay, so let me tell you all about this movie. All right, so the movie was interesting. And if you want to know the overall premise of the film, the overall premise is that basically in this book, Cass, and again, I'm probably oversimplifying it a little bit, but what she kind of does is she makes a connection between what happened in Nazi Germany to the Jews, what happened in India with the Untouchables, and also what happened in America with Black people. And basically, the interesting argument that seemed to be made, by the main character, is who was this woman, Isabel Wilkerson. She was a woman portraying her. Is that all this stuff that we think is racism in America it's not about race. It's about a caste system, and the caste systems have
Hmm.
these universal, trends, these universal themes, these rules. Like, you sort of use this terrorism to control people. You separate them into groups based on arbitrary criteria, and then next thing you know, you've got something that where oh, and then she dug deep into this idea that you can't go outside your caste. You can't like intermarry, and she spent a lot of time talking about interracial
She
dating.
did, and I felt like she had to, because she kind of showed certain scenes where she may have gotten comments from her own family members about
Mm,
her choice to date outside of her race, and her position is that dating another black man, it's putting her in a caste,
yeah,
and that it's liberating to be able to spread her love across racial lines. And I
yeah.
think that was a big part of her theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that somehow that I
that's liberating.
living life without the caste system is freedom. That's
And
what she
mhm,
said. That's freedom for Black people,
mhm.
and I thought that was really interesting. And honestly, it's a Hollywood film, right? So you know that there's going to be certain elements in a film like this. Number one, the main squeeze of the main character happened to be a melanin deficient man. He's a white boy, and he happened to be a Jewish white boy, and also they so they portray this sort of love affair here, and in her mind it's like it's liberating that I can find love wherever I find it, which to me spills over into almost like an integrationist slash interracial dating agenda slash loving whoever you want to love, right, which
Mhm.
is kind of
Mhm.
very Hollywood of them. And then also the that last element of just connecting blacks and Jews, right?
Mhm.
Even though there are black people who say no, you're not even the real Jews, right?
Yeah.
There are black people who say you're pretending like we're the original Jews, right? Because they came out of Africa. So it's really interesting where um it's a certain style of blackness that I'm not necessarily against all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm not against some of what she was saying, right? Caste systems are pretty brutal, and there are themes of white supremacy around the world. If you go to India or go to parts of Africa, you go
Mhm.
to even parts of Asia, you see little things like, for example, darker skinned people get treated differently from
Yeah,
lighter
and
skin, that kind
I
of thing.
was surprised that the she didn't point out the fact that skin color makes a big difference. Like, she didn't point out the fact that one of the reasons why slavery was so successful here in America and its uniqueness was the fact that everybody was divided by skin color.
Hmm.
Like, how could skin color not be there? She said she didn't think that white people really felt as if black people were inferior. They just used the fact, they just put them into an inferior position to use them for their own good.
Hmm.
And I
That's
thought that was
interesting. She did
really,
make that point. She
she
did say,
did.
yeah, there was a point where the character did say that they knew we weren't inferior, and
I'm
I
like,
and I
how
don't,
did she know?
yeah, I don't agree. And what was why was it so important to make that point? Like, was it to say no, 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 they really liked us. That's why they let us babysit their kids, and like that's she said, why would you put your children in the hands of
Someone who was inferior, who's not non-human.
yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. I'd like to go watch that part again because I thought so. So the movie was interesting in that it made some valid arguments about caste systems
It
and
did.
just generally, you can understand racism in America better by understanding the caste system. But a good way to really understand a set of ideas is to understand the person from where the ideas came, right? So the author of the caste book, Isabel Wilkerson, was married to a white man, and but she went to Howard, right? So she had a
Hmm.
certain kind of black experience, and
But so did Camilla Harris.
well, yeah,
She went
Cameron
to
did,
Howard,
yes,
and
she
look where
did,
she ended up. And I just let you know that maybe that's what some HBCUs push, or some of their ideology is just that know that you are just as good, if not better, or able to be in positions where white people are there too.
right, I can get that, right?
I
I
can get that too.
I can get that. I think that the challenge, though, um, with that for me is that there's an inherent belief in America, I believe, that the closer you are to white people, the more successful you are, right?
Yes.
So kind of climbing into the halls of power, or like success. How do we define
Mm-hmm.
success? Oh, she won a
Mm-hmm.
Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Pulitzer? It's a fucking award made up by a white man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that she didn't work hard for it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying she isn't great at what she does.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
literally, what name one award named after a black man that white
Mm-hmm.
people are sacrificing everything in order to get access to? There is no award. There is no Boyce Watkins
Mm-hmm.
Award that white people are clamoring to obtain, right? Leaving their own communities to go get. Whereas we will always cross the street, and we see crossing that street as like some sort of access to something better than what we have at home.
Yeah, but it's not just being close to white people mean you get your award or being accepted by white people. It's certain white people.
Mm,
Because the dichotomy of this is while she's in her house, and spoiler alert, while she's in her house getting the house remodeled, she's working on this high level caste theory
mm,
where she's unifying the struggles of people from India, people from Africa, and people from Jewish background, with the Nazi Holocaust. She's doing high order thinking. Meanwhile, you have working class white people who are the plumbers and the people who put the floors down.
mm,
Those are the people who are actually fixing her house up. She's
mm,
paying them. So it was an interesting dichotomy. Not to say that she's better than anybody, because I don't think anybody's better than anyone, but it was still just that sort of almost like a caste system there, because she kind of identifies the working class white people, like the people who work with their hands. She identified them with the Trump supporters, because
mm.
those were the people who were fixing her pipes. Those were the people who were putting the drywall in. Like she just kind of like blanketly talked about them. And I loved how she did it because she humanized everyone. So it
Mhm.
was a beautiful interchange, but it was still sort of a position where, okay, she won these big awards and you're just replacing the pipes. It was
Interesting.
a dichotomy. She's hiring this man to do this work
Well, it's
in
kind of
her
like
house.
Henry Louis Gates talking to that cop. Like, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, by the way, everybody, you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm a finance PhD. My wife is a professor of social work and a licensed therapist. If you'd like to learn more about what Dr. Alicia does, you can go to coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And this is a goofy picture of Alicia at the movie theater. We went out. We celebrated Nana's birthday today, and she wanted to see this movie. That's why we went, and I'll do anything for Nana. And so we all went to the movies tonight to see this movie Caste, created by Ava DuVernay, who's a very smart lady, very good filmmaker. She has her worldview, and I respect it, but I don't always
Yeah.
agree with it. And one thing that's interesting is that when you're talking about, sort of, I think that my little bone to pick with some of the folks, not all of them, some of the folks from the white liberal Hollywood crowd,
Mm-hmm.
is that it feels to me like they're fighting white supremacy from the position of being a white supremacist. Like they are
As
white,
if they are immune to it themselves. They're
right,
not part of it.
right,
It's
like
those people.
right. Because think
Yeah.
about this: they spend so much time talking to white people. They believe the solution to liberating black people is to convince white people that racism is bad. Like what white people think. Getting a white man to give you an important job, giving white people to give you an important award, and
Mm-hmm.
getting white people to acknowledge and validate your feelings, that is your key to liberation. And then maybe one day you can even marry a white man, and then next thing you know, you'll be on the Supreme Court like Ketanji Brown
Integrationist.
Jackson. You'll
Mm-hmm.
be the president of Harvard like Gail, what's her face? You'll be vice president of the United States like Kamala Harris. Right, like there's
Yeah.
a theme there. There's a theme. There's this
Yeah.
general idea. So they're kind of promoting integrationism, and integrationist ideas are not inherently bad. The problem is that when black people were integrated, we got our asses kicked. We don't own anything. White people control everything. We sucked ourselves right into slavery. We said, no, 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 there's no need for the Negro Leagues. The real deal is to get to the major leagues,
Yes.
right? And then Jackie Robinson gets a job in the major leagues, and then you have 10,000 unemployed or 100,000 unemployed black people who all could have had businesses built around the Negro Leagues, right? So you have the black elite that say, no, let's integrate, let's integrate, let's integrate, because I can go to Harvard and I can get a Pulitzer and I can go
Yes.
make movies in fucking Hollywood while the masses of black people are sitting there with nothing, no institutional infrastructure,
She
nothing.
never talked about any of those things. And I just think that's so fascinating because you said black elites. And I really do think this is a boule elitist movie. And I will have to say that this movie ties so closely into the last movie we saw, which was, what was it?
American Fiction,
American
which is
Fiction.
another
It
great
is
movie.
it is
Shout out to
another
Jeffrey
great
Wright.
movie, but it's also a movie of this black elitist and his frustrations as a writer.
Mm.
To me, I just see it so connected. And what's interesting is that it's funny you tweeted this about the Super Negro or whatever, the League of
Oh,
Super
there was another
Negroes,
movie. Oh my God.
the
Hey, y'all.
preview.
Seriously, let me tell y'all this. There was literally a movie they advertised. I kid you. I swear to God. This movie's coming out. It's called the
The
League
League of
of Magical Negroes.
It's actually a movie, but yet again,
What the
but the
hell?
thing is that he becomes this magical Negro so that he can fall in love with another white person.
Hmm.
That's the whole thing. He can't let it go. Again, it's the same freaking theory. I think these three movies is like the trifecta of black elitism. And black elitism is we are better than the black people in the ghettos. But guess what? We are also better than the white people in the ghettos. It's
Mm.
almost like us black people. I'm not talking about me, by the way, but it's like these elitist black people get together with all of the smart white people and they know better and do better and are better. That is,
Mm.
to me, is the theme between the three of these movies. And I'm definitely going to go see that movie. I'm going to try to like control my emotion because it's going to get on my nerves,
Well,
but I want to see it
well
just
that
for research.
well that's
Hmm.
not. I mean, that's not a bad point, right? I think that you have these black folks that go to, high level institutions and get a lot of education, and they don't like being treated as like the black guy in the group
Yeah,
or
because
to
we're
be
not
right.
them.
They want to be invited to the party,
Hmm.
and when they're not invited to the party, they say this sucks, this is racism, this isn't fair. And what I would say to those individuals is that there's a piece of your humanity that gets stripped by the fact that you're spending so much time trying to be the magical Negro that can somehow persuade white
Yes.
people to like you and accept you and give you opportunities, right? And even Ava DuVernay, I love her, I really do, but I really wish individuals like that would speak more about the importance and the power of black ownership and black institution building to the point
Yes.
where you overcome. See, here's the thing: people think you overcome white supremacy by fighting with white people. No, you overcome white supremacy when you don't give a damn what white people think. You're
Exactly.
not even thinking about white people.
Yeah. And
That's how you truly defeat your competitor. That was the journey of
hmm,
my life. Like
yes,
whatever I
yes,
was
come
fighting with,
on.
whatever I was fighting with was the thing I had not yet conquered. But once I conquered it, it would be off my radar.
Hmm.
It wouldn't even be something I was, I'd be like, I don't know, I'm not even mad about it anymore. Like when I was at Syracuse, I was fighting with Syracuse University, but once I left Syracuse and I found ways to find tremendous amounts of success
You
in other
found
areas,
other things to
I
fight
wasn't
for.
even mad at Syracuse. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I was there. I ain't even thinking about that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. What are white people to do once we stop thinking about them? Once we stop caring. I mean, the little boy, I can't imagine. The little boy who was integrated baseball, the integrated baseball, the one little black kid on the baseball team. And this was in the movie, by the way. Spoiler alert for anybody. But she spoke about a story where the little boy and they won their championship and they go to they're all together. I don't know how naive these people are. First of all, they all get together on the bus and they go to the swimming pool and they all think they're all going to jump in the swimming pool. And those people were like, the little black boy is not getting in this pool. I don't understand why nobody on that team, the coaches, nobody knew. They didn't know what was going on. Like, that's the thing. Where was his mama and his daddy? They should have been there being like, no, my child is not. about to be part of this, you know, in the first
Mm.
place. Like in the sadness and the depression and how he felt when he had to sit there in that heat, starving, sweating up a storm in that heat and feeling dejected. You know, that it tells you the failure of integration and the fact that the good white people really tried to stick up for him to include him in this pool experience. You know, it just
Right. And if that's my son, you know what I tell my son? I say,
forget them
son,
people. Let's go.
right, we got a pool in the black neighborhood with
Yes.
people that love you. That who
Yes.
gives a they don't deserve the right. I
To
wouldn't let
make you sad.
Right. I wouldn't even put my ball sweat in that swimming pool. Like seriously, like really, what in the hell? I mean,
Yeah.
think about this. I need everybody to process this. Think about just the whole setup of that scenario.
Just what's he
Ba-
doing playing on this team? He should have played on a black team.
Right. It's setting up this idea that white people are the ones who get to control and decide whether black people get to feel good about ourselves.
Yes.
That if they had invited him into their pool, he would have had a great day and had a happy life. But
Yep.
because he couldn't swim with white people, somehow he's traumatized for life. Well, you know what? You're barking up the wrong tree, brother. Like, that doesn't even make any sense to me. I don't know a single white man who has a terrible life because black people won't let him swim with them. Like really, like I just don't.
Oh gosh.
It's crazy to me. So I think that generally it's like I think they're getting better at talking about race and racism or whatever. And by the way, we do we read Dr. Claude Anderson books in the Black Business School, and we do Powernomics training every single Wednesday night where we read books like Black Labor, White Wealth, and the Black History Reader that teaches you things like how black people used to get arrested for counting change in front of a white person or looking a white person in the eye. If you want to join us, just text the word greatness to 87948. If you text greatness to 87948, I'll send you a link where you can join us. And also, Dr. Alicia's website is on the screen as well. It's coachingwithdralicia.com. So let's get back to this movie. Okay, so with this movie Caste, Ava DuVernay, Niecy Nash was in it. Great acting. I like where they're going in terms of understanding caste systems and how they
Mhm.
operate. Where I got off the bus was when they seemed to be making the argument that race wasn't really the issue; it was the caste system that was the issue, and that getting rid of the caste system liberates you, and the liberation comes from being able to do things like marry a white man. She
Mhm.
spent a lot of time
Defending.
describing marrying a white guy as like liberating
We were like,
yourself.
okay, we got it already. You have
Right.
to
You could
keep
have
going
yeah,
on with this.
yeah, you could have
You
said it with
know.
one sentence, but now you sound like Umar Johnson repeating yourself. You know, Umar likes to say things 3 or 4 times, right? It's like, why do you keep repeating yourself? Why don't you say
Okay,
it
we
once
got
and
it.
move
Move
on?
on.
Yeah, is that some kind of a guilt thing you're feeling?
Are you convincing yourself? Maybe that's really what it is. Maybe she is, usually you respond to people who attack you, or you see things as an attack. What you decide to respond to is almost like something that struck a chord within you.
Mm,
And maybe she is dealing with it herself, like dealing with these issues herself. And her way of writing this book is her way of getting through her own sort of struggles there, because she was
hmm.
married to a black woman, the actual lady in the story. She was married to a black man.
Yeah, she married a. I think
That
her
was her
first. I
first
think her first.
husband.
Well, we don't know for sure. I think his
I
name was
thought you looked him up,
no,
but
but
his name
he
was
had
a
a really
black
black
name.
name. It was like Tyrone or something. Yeah, her first husband was a black man. I think
We
we
think,
speculate, and then her second husband was a white man. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. He died just like he did in the movie. Poor guy.
yeah, I mean, that's
But
unfortunate. We don't want to hear about anyone losing their spouse.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And but I really think that she could have left the whole interracial marriage conversation to the side because what one could also argue is that historically interracial dating, mating, and relationships could be designed to dilute a population. There are scenarios where
Mm-hmm.
one group conquered another group, and they said, "We want you to go get the women pregnant so that you can dilute the population."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Remember, you go around the world. Japanese people tend to prefer that you marry a Japanese person. Italian
Or a
people,
white. Let me tell you, or a white person though.
Well, yeah,
Japanese would be okay with that.
they might accept it. I mean,
Hmm.
people don't beat each other up for marrying outside their group. But Jewish, even the Jewish community, or they tend to want to do business with each other, and
Yeah,
they want to
that's true.
marry each other. I mean, they'll accept you if you're different, but there's a reason why groups stick together. It's
Hmm.
because you've identified and said, okay, this is a type of power we want to have. Like, it's really ironic. For example, most of
Ah,
the characters in
interesting.
this movie, a lot of them came from Harvard. Well,
Yes.
Harvard is notorious for their caste system.
Yes.
They are notoriously committed to their caste. Do you know how many Supreme?
Legacy entrance,
Yes, yes.
legacy admissions for sure.
Says the woman who went to University of
Yeah, I
Chicago.
was okay. So I was a legacy
What are you,
admission. You know
fourth
what?
generation, third generation University of
I'm a
Chicago?
third generation University of Chicago. So I'm talking about the very system in which I am part of. That's the ironic part. But that doesn't mean I'm there.
Well, you know,
It doesn't mean I believe in it.
I mean, I think systems exist everywhere,
Yeah.
and there are hierarchies that can be imposed. And I believe if you're going to really go for real, and really talk about caste systems and hierarchies, you have to go read books like Powernomics,
Yes.
because you can understand how power is the glue that holds the caste system together. If you don't have power, you can't exert your superiority over anybody without power. And part of the reason others can exert their superiority over you is because you are powerless. And one argument I would make to Ava DuVernay or anybody listening is that Black
Hmm.
people will always be victims of the caste system and always lose in the integration game if we
Yes.
do not focus on obtaining various forms of real economic power.
Okay, so what you're talking about is nationalism.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking about we're black nationalists. That's what
to
I consider.
to some extent,
I
yeah.
think that's what you're talking about. And I don't see where that doesn't fit. That doesn't fit into the scenario of what anything Hollywood would want to push. So whereas I do highly recommend people watch this film. And depending on where you are developmentally in your ethnic identity, right? Because ethnic identity, there's a development there. Ethnic identity development, there's a whole theory on ethnic identity
Yeah,
development.
I know.
And so, depending on where you are in your development and where you are with your identity, if anybody who's listening to us, I would think that people would be further along in their development. Like, so it's a great movie for people who are just coming into some of these concepts of racism, which is why I love the fact that the kids were there, because it was good for them to have a front row picture of some of these concepts and theories early on. But as they grow and progress, you grow and progress in terms of how you see yourself in terms of your ethnic identity.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'll say that, I feel like I get. See, the thing is, in this world, everybody has a clique, everybody has a group,
mm-hmm.
and Ava has a group that has led to her success. Her group tends to be Jewish people, and people that are more on the integrationist front.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Boulay, people from
I think
Harvard,
it's
some of
Boulay for sure.
yeah, yeah, and
Definitely people who they are comfortable with and they trust. So there's enough white people around them that they feel like they really trust, and they haven't felt betrayed by them yet.
right, right. So the
you know.
question for an Ava DuVernay is, you've got your group,
Hmm.
and that group is protecting you. What group do the masses of Black people have that they can lean on, that will ensure that they can be as well off as you, that they can have economic power, that they can
Hmm.
have freedom, all that? There is no such group, So because the Boulay, they align themselves with like the Democratic Party, and what happens? They get nice fancy jobs and nice cars
Yes.
and good lives, but then the masses of Black people get shit on. They neglect the neighborhoods. You go to some areas like in Baltimore. Elijah Cummings ran Baltimore for many years. Baltimore is in worse shape than it was before people like that took over. You can keep going down the list. It's not even just Baltimore. I mean, go to a lot of cities that
Any
Democrats run.
major city.
Right,
Any major city.
right. So it's
Yes.
almost like the Boulay have this extraordinary life
Yes.
because they've committed to this idea of controlling the masses of Black people and getting us to sign up for things
Hmm.
that don't benefit the community. And I think the argument that I would make is that, um, you have to focus on things that are going to achieve power. Or unless if you don't, then what's going to happen is integration. This integrationist liberation that they're pushing onto us.
Uh-huh.
Like somehow I'll be
Hmm.
free if you can go date a white man. That is only going to lead to another caste system.
It
Like
will.
people
And
don't
but the Boulay are okay with that. The
right.
Boulay are definitely okay with this whole caste system. And my the thinking is that, okay, so my ancestors helped build this country. This system that we in is partly mine too. Give me my piece of the pie. And anybody else that want to come up these ranks, you have to ascribe to certain values and ideologies in order to come into this club. It is a club of people, and it's exclusive because I don't know. I love Washington D.C. Love the Washington D.C. area. Those are my people over there. I feel like every time I go there, I feel like those are my type of black people. But I do get where it's just like certain circles of black people in that area all hang out with each other, and there's other sort of black people who are on the out that they don't hang out with. I think it is very like segregated among within black people, the black crowd.
That's true. And I kept
I
messing up.
get that.
I kept calling her movie Caste. I think
It's not, it's
it's
origin.
Origin. The book
But
is
the
called
book is
Caste. Oh
cast,
my
but it's
god, I
okay.
screwed up. I'm sorry, Ava. I'm sorry, Ava. You know what? And I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna definitely leave with this general premise. Like I think everyone should go see the movie and critique it for themselves because I think Ava DuVernay is doing her very best to be the best filmmaker she can be, and I don't have anything against her.
She's doing what she knows and what she thinks, and it's a good piece of
Mm.
work.
Yeah, it is.
And it is a good piece of work. It needs to be done, but we have, how you not going to look at it with a critical eye?
Well,
Because we see the big picture too.
yeah, yeah, I mean, and the reality is that there are few caste systems I think that's interesting. So here's one thing, one subtle point
Mm-hmm.
that I make on this is that it seemed that there was the argument that if you believe black and white people should be separated, if you're not all for the integrationist idea, like dating a white man or whatever, that somehow you're supporting the caste system with separation. But the caste system is not
Mm.
inherently due to the separation. The separation doesn't create the caste. In fact, the separation could actually liberate you from the caste system,
I think so.
right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
so. My point is to say, like, stop conflating integration with
Mm-hmm.
hierarchy. Like me integrating with white people does not elevate me in the caste system. Like
No,
I could go out and have sex with 10,000 white women. That's not going to elevate my status as a black man. What
it's not liberating you.
that there's no right. There's nothing liberating about going and dating white people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like or committing to integration because if you integrate, and this is why integration didn't work. See, integration itself is not a bad idea. Integrate just like two corporations merging together is not a bad idea, but in itself, the merger is bad when you have the kind of abuse that we were exposed to
Yes.
because we had no economic power.
Yes.
And this is why Ava DuVernay needs to go read all of Dr. Claude Anderson's books
Yes.
and incorporate those ideas into her argument because fucking a white man ain't go it doesn't elevate you. I mean, maybe it gives you more opportunities in white society, but then there's the fundamental assumption that white people are supposed to own and control everything, right? Like okay, if I get with a white man, somehow
Let me
I'm
wiggle my way in here.
right, right,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say no, like like
Yeah.
you marrying me gave you no promotion in white society. It was a demotion.
I wasn't looking for
Right.
that though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But being married to me gave you a pretty good promotion in black society, I believe. Right. Me
Mm-hmm.
being married to you, same thing. Right. There are places you and I go where we are a respected couple, and those are places that are run and controlled and owned by black people. Those are systems that we manage as a community, as opposed to us saying, okay, how
Yeah.
do we make white people comfortable enough with us that they're going to acknowledge our accomplishments?
And the thing is that I don't think that we're that unique though. I think that there's so many black individuals who are really jaded by trying to get into this system and to be accepted by white people. There's so many of us who are just tired of it that I feel like if Hollywood doesn't do anything about it, that they're actually losing, they're losing a critical thinking. a critical piece in our thinking. That's what they're losing because there's so many. I mean, look at the conference we went to. Look at the conference we went to just last week in Atlanta.
Oh,
The
traffic sales and profit,
traffic sales and
TSP
profit,
Live.
right? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that was awesome.
Not one person. It was it 2,000 people there.
I didn't see a single white person. Did you?
It wasn't, not only was it a single white person, but not one black person in there depended on white people for anything.
Yeah.
We did not care. None of us cared.
Right.
Nobody cared. We were all just networking with each other. And there
Mm.
was a lot of white people in that hotel, and we did not, we looked right past them.
That's true. They probably got annoyed because there's so many of us in there. They're
We
not.
did not
They want it.
care.
They're
That's
not even
on
used to that.
them.
Yeah.
That's on, if they got annoyed, so what? It is
Right.
on them because we did not depend on them for anything.
Mm. That's a good point.
So it's, there's missing, like they're striking a chord, but not with us.
Well,
Not with us.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you. So I think the last point I would make on this movie is that she's right about caste systems, having things in common around the world. White supremacist systems tend to exist everywhere, and they use similar rules. I think she's wrong. They're wrong about saying race is not an issue. Race doesn't matter, or that somehow choosing to sleep with a person who's not black is somehow liberating for you. I don't know what that means exactly.
Yeah.
Because you could be trading one type of liberation for another, because integration itself is a form of social and economic and political incarceration for black people. And that's what it's been. That's what it became in America, right?
Hmm.
Like you sell the Negro League so you can be in the major leagues. You give up your black owned businesses and you trade them in for student loans and corporate jobs. You trade black land ownership for these spaces where you're pretty much working for white people for the rest of your life. That there's nothing liberating about that type of integration.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people miss. They don't talk about the economic issues as much as they should. And I think that needs to be part of the conversation. So,
Yeah. So she
yeah.
does a good job deconstructing the history and looking at the connections between oppression. It's really, she's talking about oppression in the world. Okay. They did mention Latin America and Africa and some other places. So she did a wonderful job deconstructing things. But the way she constructed at the end as the answer is integration, that's where she loses me.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
So
Yeah, I think
try again. Another thing
well,
I will say is that I thought black women were the center of this film.
they were.
And it was almost like black men were kind of on the edges.
We were.
What was that about? Like, I didn't really see, you saw supportive black men, you did see supportive black men, but they had no speaking lines. The story
That's
was centered around black women.
so
So I
true.
don't know. Like, I think more of a balance should have been there. We should have heard from some of the spouses, or Blair Underwood was in the film. We should have heard. We needed more Blair Underwood scenes.
Well,
He needed more lines. He just kind of made a cameo and he was out of there.
yeah, Blair's a good one. He's an
Look at
OG.
Blair.
He's
He
been
is
in the
an
game for a minute.
OG.
He still looked the same as he did in
Bring
1998.
Blair back. So
Yeah, well, I didn't dislike the movie, but
yeah.
I agree with everything you said. So, all right, well, we're pretty much done, everybody. We're about to head on out of here, about to go to bed. So I hope you guys were able to gain something from the conversation. We want to say thank you so much for your kind words, and I did see your comments in there. And I agree with you. The more you know, he mentioned that the caste system, the bottom of the caste system tends to be darker people.
They didn't
So
even mention color. Skin color was
right,
huge. Wait a minute. Skin color was very huge in this film, but it was never stated.
yeah,
But it was
interesting.
implied. There were some subtle implications about skin color that was never even addressed.
It's
I
so
thought it should
true.
have been addressed,
I,
but
I agree 100%. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for hanging out with us for another episode of Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. We are also on Spotify and Apple. So if you want to find us there, just look up my name, Boyce Watkins, on Spotify. Also, Dr. Alicia's website, she sees clients individually, families, couples. If you're interested in getting a good black therapist, you can go to coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. You can also text wellness to 87948. Text wellness to 87948, and Dr. Alicia can reach out. And also, we are about to secure our venue for the 2024 All Black National Convention. So, if you want to network with other like minded people from your community, be around people that want to build businesses, build families, build community, join us at the convention. It's a very big deal. It's intimate enough. It's big enough where there's a nice gigantic crowd, but it's intimate enough that you don't feel like you're at some big space where you don't get up close and personal with the people that you're learning from. And any area of Black wealth or Black economics that you're interested in, we got you covered. But then also we have experts in other areas like health and relationships and all kinds of stuff. So it's a great place for anybody, whether you're an investor or a person seeking to excel in your profession or whatever the case may be. If you believe in Black excellence, the convention's for you. So it's going to be October 25th through the 27th, and it's going to be, we're about to sign the contract with the Westin in Lombard, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. It's a suburb of Chicago. It's a beautiful area. The rooms are reasonably priced. I think we fought like crazy to get the room rates down to about 150 per night. It's a luxury hotel, a beautiful place, a wonderful venue. So it's family friendly and affordable. It's not like these other conferences that'll charge you hundreds or thousands of dollars to attend. With the All Black National Convention, you can actually get tickets at a discounted rate right now if you go to allblacknationalconvention.com. So the URL is allblacknationalconvention.com. We will sell out because we did deliberately choose to reduce the price of the tickets because we want everybody that wants to learn to be able to afford it. But we also restrict the number of people that can attend to 500. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great day. God bless you. Peace.